the situation with my unit currently, I'm still part of them, is very bad in Bakhmut. And I think they're going to be disbanded soon. We're down to only 14 people in the company. And so while the entire battalion and brigade were friendly, I can't speak to what the new command structure will be like after the situation takes place when they either get moved or they have to bring new people in.
And so what do you feel about Russians orcs now? So I think that it is part of Mongoloidans.
Sir, you have a European party, and the reality is Russians are not European. Russians, as Mr. Danilov was clear to say, Russians have a different culture. Russians are Asian. And ultimately, they do come from the Mongols. They do come from a grouping, Mr. President, Mr. Deputy, of people who are wanting to be slaves and want to be led just as it was from the days of Genghis Khan. And so I wish the rest of Europe and the Western world understood that Europe ends at Ukraine. We are protecting European values and Western values the same way those did hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years ago when the Mongols were coming in. While I don't know every Russian, I will say that what's happening in the Kremlin and what's happening to every Russian that supports Vladimir Putin's decisions are not human. These people are not human. They are enemies of humanity, in fact.
Now we have some difficulties. So what is your opinion about counteroffensive now?
For well over a year, we've been asking our Western partners since the days of your presidency, sir, to make certain that they understood the threat of these non-humans, and they didn't want to understand it. They don't understand that we can only win by winning. And so they're being cautious based on what they know. The Kyiv Independent, sir, stated that there was allegations that 100,000 Russians were gathering in Kupiansk and Liman directions. And to me, this showed a very big problem. If our own media calls it allegations, even though two of our generals, who are not political people, said this was the case, imagine what we must be fighting in the Western media. I have a video coming out very soon where Crimea announced that they had 30% less visitors for poisonous jellyfish. And yet the Daily Telegraph ran a story that people were still visiting Crimea. So we're having struggles on the information warfare front. And then we have the morale issue, sir, where I'm at the hospital right now and I'm seeing soldiers who are talking to me very frustrated because they didn't feel like they were being heard in certain areas. And so we are dealing with the reality that until we win the information war, our Western partners won't feel the pressure. But we must win the information war both here on the streets of Ukraine and in the newsrooms in New York and London and elsewhere. This is why I also had the controversy but felt I needed to do it. When CNN called our fighters Western mercenaries, I had to call for the boycott of CNN and risk my position simply because Russia would have used that as propaganda if CNN didn't change the wording. Luckily, it worked, and I received the apology on behalf of all of the foreign soldiers, and they changed their wording to foreign fighters. But every time there's a slip-up by our partners, the slip-ups aren't coming from you and the other leaders here in Ukraine as much as it is, almost never, as much as it is coming from our Western partners who don't understand that Russia's main success in this invasion was on the information front, but their propaganda efforts are the best in the world. Their propaganda, they should not be able to hide behind just because they're given a television show doesn't stop them from being war criminals. Then how can we attack Russian fascists with all of our weapons? And our weapons include DRGs. Our weapons include diversions. Our weapons include saying this is not free speech. You know, Solivov and Skabeva and all of them are committing crimes against humanity.
So
we saw what the truth was with Dugin's daughter. They put out a book on the 1-year anniversary of her death. That goes to show that who she was in their eyes. It wasn't some woman who was accidentally killed. This was an evil creature who died a death they deserved for trying to genocide innocent people.
Yeah, that is true. It doesn't mean that we don't have to target Maria Zakharova too.
First, she was the first person to attack me. It was April of 2022, and she attacked me before anyone even knew my name outside of USA, outside of Nevada. And she called me a creature who only hung around with gangsters, meaning our soldiers. And the worst part with her is she gets accepted in the same way that a State Department spokesperson would be accepted. To me, there's nobody that should be off limits, Mr. Deputy, over the course of being able to carry out our full liberty.
How they dare that? How it could happen? I was in a trip, but when I got that news, it was terrible. I think it is not fair. It is extremely bad for our reputation to do that.
Yes, sir. It was political, as you very well understand politics. I made the statement that Russian propagandists will be hunted down, and I refuse to apologize for that statement. And what's not being said is that I was the expert witness in a case against a Russian agent in Kharkiv. And so by knocking me out of this position, it made my testimony less effective. So you know the process. On Tuesday morning, sir, I was fired. At 10 o'clock on Tuesday, I was reinstated. By Tuesday night, I received the analytics report. The investigation was already done, and I was cleared. On Wednesday morning, sir, I was told that the ministry was completely defending me. On Wednesday afternoon, an email was sent to an American politician regarding me from an official email address of the government stating that I was already cleared. And then, sir, 2 hours later, the message appears that I was suspended.
But who was the person who ordered to do that?
I was told, sir, that it came from the highest levels. That's all I was told. And General Tansora was the one who decided on the suspension and the language of the suspension.
When you're talking about high level, what is a person?
I was told that it came from New York, sir, on the trip that the government is on currently.
Oh my God! It's so. Ministry of Defense of Ukraine tried to help you, to defend you, but someone from New York decided to do that. Oh my God! It is so pity.
Yes, sir. I think I was told that they had to make a big deal and to shut me up in order to possibly get help. So that's why I understand it. I understand it's political. I'm still in the Army. I'm still speaking to several high-level officers doing my other work, just not as spokesperson. But, sir, I don't want to serve I would like to transfer to Army. I don't want to serve in territorial defense forces anymore. I have a very strong record of service, and I had an idea. You're a very strong man, a very public man, and you and I had discussed your daughter. What if I was able to be transferred to your artillery unit along with your child, and I could sort of work in capacity of a sergeant for you? I have fought at the front lines, not in artillery, but as infantry.
I think we can change all things that already caused our army. And I have many complaints regarding current government. You know, I can't say it publicly, but I can say it in private conversations. And you see what is going on with corruption now.
Yeah, it's terrible. Yes, sir.
It's terrible. It's also because of that officials try to earn some money from equipment that were provided by the United States, and it is really big.
Yes, sir. Anybody who is willing to look at the situation seriously understands we have significant issues. And if we don't change these issues within the next 6 months, we're going to have a 30-year war, sir. So I believe it was truly political because the Republicans are trying to use the case of Gonzalo Lira. the Russian agent or asset that I testified against, as to try to say we don't like free speech. I do believe that they were very angry in Washington that I was being talked about with Gonzalo Lira, that the two Americans were being discussed, and they were told, make it go away, especially because Sarah will not apologize. Because I made it clear, sir, Russian propagandists will be hunted down. I don't care if they arrest me for...
It's clearly
Yes,
humiliating us.
Yes, it looks like we gave in to the Russians. That's the part that was incredible.
Okay, Sarah, the bad news is about our counteroffensive, and you know what is going on the foreign stage. And I see that now we have great problems with equipment. We have great problems with soldiers now. So I can't bear it anymore. And if it will be elections, we have to change the situation extremely. Even
Yes,
we
sir.
will not. We have some troubles with people, with our human resources. So the problem with corruption is also high. The problem with our financial debts is also high. So no one is trying to resolve these problems. Many people are trying to just to make a great image of them. They are trying to help their reputation, especially in politics area. So it is sad.
Yes, sir. They're trying to profit off of the blood of our lost soldiers. They're trying to profit off the blood of the men and women who are losing arms and legs. Because if we are making promises and not being realistic, our partners can't trust us in negotiations, and our partners can't trust our projection for what's going to happen in the future, because all they can judge us on are the results. And that's one of the problems, is that the messaging that we have coming out is truly fantastic. It's almost fantastic messaging. And that's good for fighting the Russians. It's not good when we're using this in discussions with our partners in Washington, our partners in Brussels, and our partners in especially the Eastern European nations, sir.
Yeah, and I really disappointed by our president now.
Yes, sir. It's been 19 months of this. It's not about theater anymore. Theater was important in the first days and weeks. It's not about populism, sir. It's not about populism on the world stage.
Did you hear about the case with English soldier who was killed by his partner? So what do you think about that?
I think that we have a lot of foreign fighters, sir. As I said about your daughter, when you were asking about putting with an English-speaking group or an international group, I think we have a terrible problem with most foreign fighters here, because they are just a step above mercenaries, and they come here because all they know is warfare. And while I defend them in public, in private, I know many of them have very far right leanings. So there's some Nazi groups, and I reported this. I also know that many of them are doing this because they have no lives outside of in their own countries. And so we have security risks, and more importantly, we have morale and psychological issues, because foreign soldiers are here for the money, most of them. And those people are going to be the ones that are willing to engage in drugs, willing to engage in fundraising, where they're putting the money in their own pockets. And it's something we have to be very careful about. It did not surprise me, sir, that somebody was murdered. Unfortunately, what surprises me is that we're still allowing this to happen 19 months after the full-scale invasion began. And these issues with foreigners, these issues with corruptions, these issues with the fighting within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, it takes away the focus from, as you said, the war, and more importantly, from the people of Ukraine.
Yeah. And I have seen some episodes from the Russian show with Maria Butina. So it was funny to look at it, how they trying to harm you. It's it's bit.
For me, I wear it as a badge of honor, because ultimately, when I signed my oath So I am loyal to my country, the United States. But when I gave my oath to the armed forces of Ukraine, I think she was a terrible spy. I think she was a step above a whore. And ultimately, she was rewarded as a Duma member. And this is Maria Butina is the reason, sir, that we know the Duma can never be taken seriously.
I can also propose you something. As you know, if it will be elections soon, I can propose you to take a part as a deputy on the next level, but it is like a conversation now. Of course, we need to.
Sir.
And
I would be honored, sir. I can say with no question, sir, I would be honored because your platform is one that's a platform about the future. Thank you, Commander. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah. Thank you for your proposals, and let's be in touch. Have a great day.
Yes, sir. You too, sir. Thank you. Slava, sir.